I haven't touched a guitar in years. You know, I'd have to think twice to find out where it is. Not saying I won't, but I just, you know, the other things have taken my time, you know.
Do you remember when the last time that you got a guitar in your hands?
No. Nobody ever knows who I am just by looking at me. So I'm not a personality in that sense of the word. You know, I have some songs. People probably know the songs, but nobody knows who I am. There's a resistance to people processing the fact that there are different kinds of black people. You know what I mean? It's not like we all plugged into one brain, you know, and everybody uses that brain, or everybody uses that personality or that lifestyle. It's always interesting to me, like during the riots or something like that. It's always interesting how somebody wants to come up and ask me about it. Well, I don't know anything about it. You know, I was up here, you know, I was in Beverly Hills. How the hell do I know what was going on down on Florence and Normandy? So it's always so. I usually try to stay away from that kind of stuff because I was just trying to make some music. You got to understand, I grew up in the 30s, the 40s, and the 50s in the American South as a black kid. Mostly what I thought about was surviving. How am I going to make a living? I don't want to go into coal mines. And then I went deeper into the American South. I was in Florida and Alabama and Georgia, so my teenage years was, how do you not get killed in Alabama? So I don't have all these, you know, flowing brooks and all that kind of stuff. It wasn't my life experience. You dig? So my youth from very early was learned with, what are the rules? You know, what are the rules? When I was 4 or 5 years old, a very important thing for me to remember, because I can't read yet, don't make a mistake and go into the white women's bathroom. You know, so that's the reality of my youth. Now, I remember some personal relationships, like, you know, with my grandmother and things, and I've written about those things. I never was without any love, you know, but love didn't have anything to do with my survival. Mostly what I thought about from a very early age was, I don't want to go down in the ground and dig out this coal for these, you know. I don't want to go do that. There's no future in it. That had nothing to do with love. Love came from my own personal surroundings. But my reality is, I grew up in the South, in the American South, in the 30s, the 40s, and the 50s. And so it was very serious. How do I survive and get through here? So it wasn't about all of that. You know, it wasn't about this, like I say, babbling brooks and shit. It was about surviving. How am I going to survive? How do I get out of here? And when I leave here, where do I go? Is there anywhere to go? You know, so there's a dual reality. There's a dual reality to my existence, you know. So it's two different things. There's music and there's life. Now, 60 is considered young, but then 60 was not considered young to die. So it was just life.
You're not really the Navy type of guy to me, but you went away for 9 years to the Far East, and you must have experienced a lot. Why did you choose the Navy? You're not a typical sort of soldier type of guy.
Not now, but I was then, Yeah, I was then. I'm still probably more Navy in my personality than I am music business. I have more friends that, I'm closer with the people that I was in the Navy with than I am to. I don't know a lot of people in the music business very well, but I have friends from the Navy that I've known since the 50s. So we call and we talk to each other, yeah. Yeah, but when I was young, I was very much Navy guy. I never hardly spent much time on the ocean. I worked on aircraft. So I was stationed on a ship for about 3 months out of the whole 9 years. So the Navy to me was more airplanes than water. So, I was an aircraft mechanic and I ate with aircraft mechanics and spent my time with aircraft mechanics. I kind of grew up in the Navy. I just thought it would be interesting if somebody got his right arm blown off and he needed to write a letter. That's it. Didn't affect me. I mean, I got out because, there was, I had a friend that had 5 kids that got killed, so I wasn't, No, it was like, it was more like a job than this heavy military thing. I went to work and I worked on airplanes and I went home. So it wasn't like this. I wasn't in like this heavy, militia bombing and all that kind of stuff, no.
I mean, you had so many jobs. IBM, salesman, milkman. Is that correct?
Well, you got to do something, So, you do what's available to you. I would have done brain surgery, but nobody asked me,
For the industry worker, then, of course, what you're famous for, besides the music, putting in toilets in jumbo jets.
You know what? I never did that. During the course of time, things get mixed up. We manufactured bathrooms and the stairs to go up in the airplane. So when I mentioned that, it kept changing. One time I was on Pearl Bailey was hosting the Johnny Carson show, and she says I used to clean toilets at the airport. So it kept changing and changing and changing, but I never put a bathroom in an airplane. We manufactured that whole room, that whole bathroom thing. And I had fun with it because people seemed to, get a kick out of it. But no, I never put a bathroom in an airplane. And I never cleaned bathrooms at the airport,
Great, now we know that Billy Withers is not a toilet man.
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, I fixed a few toilets in my time, but it just kept changing. Probably after I die, it'll be that I don't know what it'll turn into. How far could you take a toilet? One time somebody gave me an award. They gave me a gold toilet seat. When I got an offer to record, I was at work. I was working at Weber Aircraft up in Burbank, and somebody called me and asked me if I would come in for a meeting, and I said yeah. And they said, well, do you think you can make an album? And I said yeah. Booker T was the producer, and we got halfway through, and then the record company ran out of money, so we had to wait 6 months to finish, and then we finished, and it was interesting because Booker, from his years in the business, knew people that would play, like Stephen Stills and people like that, who were nice enough to play. So it was fun. It was something new, and it was interesting. A little clumsy because we didn't have any money. I mean, the record company didn't have any money. So it was kind of stressful getting through that. So they went out of business, so, yeah. So, no, I mean, it's, the music business is actually worse than boxing. And boxing doesn't have a good reputation. But boxing has, like, commissions and somebody watches it. The music business is, you do what you can, you do the best you can. The music business doesn't have a great reputation in the court of morality, I don't think. We used to get together over in Gadsden's garage and just play anyway. The women that you don't know are much more exciting. The women that you can think up in your imagination are much more appealing than the actual women that you experience every day. Because when you think up somebody in your imagination, they're flawless. Nothing wrong with them. And when you start dealing with real people, they are flawed, So, for songwriting purposes, I haven't, personal relationships with women have been more of they haven't been of a great deal of help to me. Because I can think up something better. Still Bill was single. Just As I Am was single. So I haven't, like I said, you can probably find, several women that'll claim that, that I was sitting down writing music about them, but it's not true. I got married the end of 76. Yeah, see, I told you.
After that, some changes came into your career. I mean, the popularity sort of went down a little bit. Naked and Warm was a sort of, maybe one of your disappointments.
No. By that time, I kind of had accepted the fact that my popularity was over. I had accepted the fact that I wasn't very good at being a personality. And, I don't know. music changed. Everybody was making disco and stuff, and so there was no great,
But you followed with the Menagerie, Lovely Day. That sort of was a defining moment in your career for sure. Finding this sort of softer approach to music, still having the funkiness, adjusting to maybe the disco soul era without being a part of it.
By then, I was just trying to get by at record company. Large record companies have, especially in the black music department, you have people who have influence over that know nothing about it. I was just trying to survive somebody, meddling with me, who knew nothing about me, who expected me to be the same as the last black guy they saw. And I kept getting this series of A&R guys that went to rehab. Yeah.
Lovely Day, that was a hit, but it was even more appreciated later on, strangely enough.
Right. Lovely Day was Skip Scarborough, who's always a cheerful kind of fella, very plus kind of fella. So it was fun writing with Skip because he was always cheerful and bubbly and stuff. Oh, at that time, I was going through, I was nobody's favorite at my record company, and they weren't my favorite either. So a lot of those songs did actually start to become more popular after they outlived the relationship between me and the A&R department.
Glömda singeln USA och så gästinsatserna på låtarna med Crusaders och Grover Washington Jr.
I did those things because I couldn't get in the studio to make a record of my own. There were years when I couldn't get a phone call returned from CBS. There was one guy in New York named Mickey Eichner that I called for 2 years, and he never took my call or returned my call. So I made, so when the chance came to, do just the two of us with Grover, then I did that. And we recorded that in 80. And it still took me till 1985 before I could get back in the studio. So I was kept from recording, for a long time. I wasn't allowed.
What do you mean, wasn't allowed?
I mean that I could not get Columbia Records to allow me to make a record from 1978 to 1985. I couldn't get in the studio. So I did things with other people. Strange times for me, I'll tell you. I remember, Max, it was just a weird time. When I finally did get in the studio in 85, it was only because I consented to work with this producer that I didn't want to work with. And the producer had a studio in his house. And running around in the studio was a little girl with no clothes on. I wasn't very comfortable. A little girl about 4 or 5 years old with nothing on. And the producer would say to the little girl, "Why don't you go talk to Bill?" And I'm sitting there thinking, "Don't come near me." So that was bizarre, you know. And that's the last record that I made. I said have taken Kids my West Virginia. You know what I mean? At that point. It's true. It's the last time for me. So all the disco and all this whatever was going on, I didn't get to, you know, I didn't have the luxury of feeling with that. I was trying to deal with some bizarre stuff. Bizarre. Don't you think it's bizarre? So that's how I was trying to make my last record. I'm not this total, I mean, my totality is not this, you know, this rhythm and blues thing, you know what I mean? I mean, I am a person. There's a life, there's an intellect, there's a whole other thing in addition to that. So I find it a little hard sometimes just to fit myself into that and just be that, you know. Let that be my whole existence, and my whole meaning for life is some song, you know. It's much more complex than that. I mean, you'd be surprised what you can get through if you have to. That's one thing I've learned in life. If you have to, it's surprising what you can get through. You know, but... And I mean, that doesn't shape anything. I mean, it's just, I was just answering your question as to what my recording experience became like, which is why I left it alone.
Did you stop writing as well in the later half of the 80s?
As far as anybody knows, yeah. You know what I mean? I mean, I probably got stuff in my head, you know. There's something I can do. But, you know, and once I found out that the songs that I had written were do their own work, I don't know, Max. I mean, it's very hard for me to explain, you know, like a year-by-year chronology of my life, because I probably don't even remember some of it myself. Because a lot of it is not fun for me to remember, you know. Let's see, I gotta go, I got this box of wires that I gotta separate the big wires from the little wires. And I got too much stuff. I got to figure out what to get rid of. I got to finish cleaning out my car. You know, just regular life stuff, you know. But I don't have any great plans in the works for anything.
The working man turned star, 71, 72, 73. How did you feel comfortable with that image that everybody was sort of talking so much about? Did it almost become a cliche?
It was cool, you know. It was all right. That's what I was, you know. So I had no problem. I kind of enjoyed watching the different toilet stories evolve, you know, from one thing to another. But other than that, it was all right. It was fine. Probably would have been better off if I had kept even more of the working man in my life. Let me make you an analogy. If I was making love to a woman and there was a mirror on the wall, if I'm looking in that mirror, I'm looking at the woman. not at me. So I don't look at myself that much. You know what I mean? Marcia, how'd you like that analogy? I'm gonna get in trouble. No, I just made him an analogy that if I was making love to a woman and there was a mirror on the wall, if I'm looking in that mirror, I'm looking at the woman, not at me. So I don't really look at myself that much, Max.
That's Bill Withers. Better Off Dead. What is it about?
Something that just crossed my mind. It's nothing about me, you know. I've never thought about killing myself, so.
You're talking about the sort of small town morality where vulnerability is a strength, for example. Could be.
Yeah, Max. And as soon as you leave there, they go to work on that, you know. You know what I mean? So in order to survive in the city, you have to sort of try to catch up and at least become aware that maybe the whole world is not as simple as where you started out.
You tell us about your hopes, fears, and really what you're about. I mean, I feel that I know you. Was it this wish to share that led you to songwriting?
That and I needed a better job, Max. You know, but no, I think we do something like that. First of all, you have to think that you can do it. You have to get past the conflict between thinking you can and maybe wondering if you really can, you know. So I think sorting that out and depends on what kind of person you are. You ever notice when they try to make really deep actors out of football players, it never quite kind of works. One personality doesn't work for everything. So I think maybe my personality was maybe kind of suited for whatever it is that I did. It's an interesting time for me. I was just telling somebody earlier, the most exciting thing that's happened to me lately was I went down and I filled out I'm going to be 65 in a minute, so I was filling out my thing for all my benefits, my old guy benefits, you know, Max, Medicare and Social Security, and it was kind of fun, you know. So I don't know why I said that. It was just fun.
Att uppnå det som kallas lycka blev något som Bill Withers inte eftersträvade.
You know what? There are people who can stay that way. For me, I can't maintain it. So I try not to delude myself into thinking that I'm going to be this happy thing, you know. It's not my life. You know, I'm all right with just being okay. You know, my experience has been I'm afraid to get into the big happy because I hate the other side of it. I'd rather just be all right. I hate the swings of the pendulum, you know. I mean, it's like, it's euphoric when you go up and you just so, I'm so happy, you know. But the other side of that is not nice. You know, when you have to come down from it. You know, there are lives and then there are images of lives. And very seldom is the life like the image of the life. And I've never been able to maintain that, that perky up thing. So I don't even mess around with it. It's fooled me too many times. There are people who are better at living than I am. I'm not great at living. I don't have this great talent for life. Some people have just a huge talent for life. And not all of them are famous. They just have this great talent to put together a life without a whole bunch of mess in it. I don't have that talent. I'm not the most gifted person that ever walked the face of the earth in assembling a life. I mean, there are people who could put together spectacular lives, and they live to be like 90 years old, and everybody gathers around them because they're so cheerful and up and everything. That ain't me. That's not my gift. I have other gifts, but I am not gifted at putting together a life. So happy is some people's gift. Okay is mine. I don't have the gift of euphoria. I'm not the one that everybody comes and gathers around to sponge joy off of. You know what I mean? If you're looking for a good time, there are other places better than me. But, it's not like I'm not the one that's going to give the party. And most of the time, I'm not even the one that's going to show up at the party. And I'm not, I wish I was, I wish I understood that better. I wish I was better at it. But you can't have everything.
Just mouths.
I've never seen the great benefit in talking about that stuff. It's not a benefit to me. I mean, I don't want to talk about. If I talked about a divorce for 19 days when I got through, there wouldn't be one benefit to me. There's nothing in it. You know what I mean? It would be like chewing on air. You can chew all you want to, but there's nothing to swallow. I don't get it, you know what I mean? Plus, I'm not really that, it's not like I'm some actor or something and somebody's really to where my personal life enters into my personality. The most that I gained was when I came into the music business. And the most that I lost was when I came into the music business. Because you can't go back. And I liked, so my way of dealing with it is to basically to avoid the show business part of it. It just doesn't help me out. I get into trouble, I get into trouble. Some of the pretentiousness of it gets me into trouble. I'll make little mischievous statements that I can't make. I'm dangerous around a bunch of actors, especially Especially when they take on that affected way of talking, you know, the theater. And, oh, come on, Max, I can't take it. It's a little much for me.
What do you do then?
Nothing. I don't go around it. I stay away from it. I haven't functioned very well in that, you know. So I'm probably, I liked the working guy. For me personally. The personality. I like the honesty in that nobody ever knows who I am. Just by looking at me. You know, I have some songs. People probably know the songs, but nobody knows who I am. Think about it. I mean, the guys that were, you know, my contemporaries, you know, people know them, but there's nobody knows what. Somebody called here the other day, want to know, you know, to take some pictures. I thought, I don't want to take any pictures. For what, you know? That's not what I was. That's not what anybody got from me. I never was a personality. It's songs. I never really went out and played that much. You know, like personal appearances, playing gigs. So I'm comfortable with, you know, songs, but I'm not interested in being a personality. There's nothing wrong with it if somebody wants to be one, but I find it to be a huge pain in the ass, you know. You know what I mean? I had a funny experience not too long ago. This woman walks up to me, and it's not often anybody recognizes me anyway. She says, "You don't look the same." I says, "You don't either."
Det tungviktsduellen i Zaire sommaren 1974 mellan Muhammad Ali och George Foreman. Bill var där tillsammans med bland andra James Brown, Etta James och B.B. King.
I remember that I left before the fight. So I didn't see the fight, not there. The thing that I was most struck by was the corruption. The third world corruption. How one president has just ostentatious wealth and regular people don't. So Zaire made me a little nervous. People would get invited to go have dinner with the president who was Sese Mobutu at the time, and I never went. I didn't think very much of. So Zaire made me nervous. You know, it was fun to you know, hang out and joke around with Ali and George Foreman and all that. But it was much more serious than that to me. It's the first time that I had been a civilian in a place that wasn't a democracy. So I was uncomfortable because I was in a dictatorship. And I just wanted to get the hell out of there. I didn't like it. You know, to me, the fight was something silly that was taking place. What struck me about Zaire was that it was creepy, and it was in that you had one guy with his picture all over everything. That made me uncomfortable. So I didn't want to meet this guy. I didn't want to do it. I just wanted to get the hell out of Zaire. So when my first opportunity came, I got out of Zaire.
The king is going home to get his throne. From the root to the fruit. That's where everything started at.
Wars, World War II, you know, I've lived through all of those things. And they never turn out to be as simple as just the good guys, you know, making the bad guys go away. There's a lot of social things to do after wars. You get rid of one leader, who's the next one? How do you pick him? Who picks him? And what effect does this have in the long term? So, yeah, it's not the most, you know, it's not the most reassuring thing in the world. It's just getting started. Humanity is not my responsibility. The one thing I learned in the military is you can only function up to your rank. I'm not ranked high enough to figure that I can do anything about that stuff. I'm at a much lower rank. I'm in social aid business. You know, the most I can do is make a song to try to make somebody feel better or worse or something, but I can't do anything about, you know, I can vote or something, but nobody's going to ask me about that stuff. You mean the obvious things like people, you know, killing themselves with drugs and stuff? No, I didn't do that yet. I didn't kill myself with that yet. But we all have our challenges, you know.
Oh, you're happy?
I'm not unhappy.